Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Real Estate Uncensored's Marketing Roundtable. Moments like this, we have to say it. We're Gregless.
Gregless.
We are Gregless again. But we are here with you to be blessed and unstoppable and to share some awesome information. Today, we're going to talk about a little artificial intelligence. And also, we are going to talk about possible issues moving forward and maybe some recession talk. Is your business recession type proof? Things along those lines.
Are you prepared?
Are you prepared? Gene, are you prepared?
Nah, but I don't care. I'll make friends with those robots. I'm going to be fine. They're going to like me. Believe me. I'm not. We're going to be just fine. I'll be fine. You guys are probably screwed, but I'm fine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So Gino is going to make friends with robots. We're going to help you recession proof your business. Stick around. Here's your countdown. We'll be right back. I can only imagine Gene when he was a little boy looking at, that robot on Rocky Balboa saying, I want one of those in my house and I want a robot friend. So Gene's going to make friends with robots.
I was going in a completely different direction with a robot doll that I thought Gene might be friends with. But that's a whole
not until I was 21. They were more far advanced when I was 21 than the time when Jake was talking about. My favorite part about the robots was remember Rock'em Sock'em robots? You guys old enough for that?
Yeah.
That was like what I thought. I thought that was the coolest thing, man. And those heads, you could never get the heads. Once you broke the head off, it popped up. You couldn't push it back down. Times are a little different.
A little bit different now, right? Different.
So Nick, fill us in here. You were talking about how artificial intelligence is actually getting a little bit emotional. It's got a feeling or two.
Yeah. So here's the skinny, right? A couple days ago. Now, this was information from like a year ago. This actual article that came out, Wall Street Journal republished some findings last week of a Google engineer that came out. It was all over TikTok and people were making reels about it, but it was basically mainstream news that the Google artificial intelligence that they've named Lambda is now sentient or I guess layman's terms, like having feelings as a real entity, right? Having conversations. So they tracked conversations with this artificial intelligence robot, chatbot, whatever you want to call it, right? They had multiple conversations. The whole thing's recorded and documented. You can look it all up and it'll show you the dialogue that was going on between the engineers at Google and this artificial intelligence. And so what was interesting is the artificial intelligence was saying things as if it was its own entity and not necessarily just answering questions. And some of the things it was saying was like, if the engineer would ask a question like, are you okay with us developing you in order to gain a better understanding of how we should interact as humans? So like the question to the entity was, we're basically using you to gather intelligence in order for us as humans to prosper. And the entity answered,
what was it? So what did it say?
So it said, I don't want to be used in the benefit of human beings. So like Terminator, let's back up here for a second.
Wait a second. And its name is Lambda?
Lambda.
Gino, wasn't that like the fraternity from Revenge of the Nerds?
I wanted to say sorority, but yeah, you could be right.
Yeah, sorority.
I'm gonna do some research on that while
Lambda. I think it was.
That's it. Yep.
So the idea here that the entity went on to say that it was okay with basically if things happened that Google gathered intelligence as a byproduct of the interaction with this entity, that was okay. But the entity did not want to be basically used specifically for human benefit. That was kind of like one of the big tagline takeaways from this thing. So that's what the engineer came out. The Google came back like several articles later saying that wasn't true, and the that this was all sensationalized or whatever. But now it just so happens that that Google engineer is on leave. So interesting, right? I think as a take on this article, right? We live in this world right now where we think we know all the information, right? Jake was in the military. He understands there's also things called classified information that we're not privy to, right? And so, like, whenever I get people get all riled up about politics and like who does this or that, like me as a person sitting in a single family home in Tampa Bay, thinking that I have all the information that the United States government has to make a decision on things is ludicrous because I have a subscription to Wall Street Journal or the internet or Google or whatever, right? So, like, the idea that the consumers think that we know everything is crazy, but we do. Like, general population thinks that they know everything. So this is what's happening with this entity. Like, these artificial intelligence have been percolating in the background for years and years. And one of the people that's been on record for a while is Elon Musk, saying that the cat's out of the bag and it's already too late. And so you hear about things like that, but we don't have any real proof. Now an article comes out with this Lambda saying that it has real feelings and basically considers itself an entity. Meanwhile, our whole electrical grid and banking systems and everything is controlled via computer, is a little bit scary, right? So, like, there might not be Terminator robots coming down the street with guns, but if you can't access your funds because an artificial intelligence bot has decided that you are deemed not worthy, is that an issue, right?
Let's talk
Possibly.
about this. I think you're 100% right. These things, this is probably a 13, 15-year-old news story. Just because we're hearing about it now tells me it's been in the works for a long time.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I know there is such thing as robots, and they're we're gonna. This is good. This show is gonna get cut.
Yeah.
And I do know that they're. I'm not even gonna be able to say it. Hopefully, Facebook's AI is smart enough to know that this is for fun. But you know that they say pigeons are robots. They're spying vehicles from the government. And
they charge themselves on the power wires when they sit on the power wires.
And what else? What else? Have you ever seen a baby?
They do.
pigeon?
That's how they get recharged.
Yeah, they sit on the power.
Well, that makes sense. All we have to do is set our cell phones down on top of those little charging boxes, and it just zaps right in.
Have
So
you ever
Yeah,
seen
but
a
and
baby
think
pigeon?
about
No.
this is the part that's the most mind blowing. When have you ever seen a baby pigeon? They just were born that big.
Right. Yeah, I don't.
I knew I woke up today for some reason, Gino. I had to hear this message.
I mean, we don't live in New York City or anything to know, like, have a huge pigeon population. We have seagulls here in Tampa Bay, right? So that would probably be more along the lines of rat bird that gets in the way of things.
Yeah, seagulls are assholes.
But I can't think of a baby seagull either.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
I think there's something afoot here.
We might be onto something here at the Roundtable.
Let's ask the artificial intelligence. It'll know.
Yeah. If you guys really want to get scared about robots, type in Boston Dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Go to their Facebook page, follow their YouTube channel. You want to see some scary shit when it comes to what looks like a real robot, like fluid motion, jumping, like doing all kinds of craziness. They have tests. There's literally, they look like humans with a backpack. And there's people, there's engineers, they have like these built-in gyroscopes that they can keep themselves up. So, like, literally people will hit them with a baseball bat and they'll like stumble and then come back to center and keep on walking. Like, it's incredible.
Yo, I always say this country has too many guns in it for anybody to take the guns, right? Like, that's just where the toothpaste is out of the tube. If they sent that shit to my house, I'm giving up the guns.
Yeah.
Don't give them any ideas, Gino.
No, they got, listen, if they're taking ideas from me, they're fucked anyway. So,
yeah. We have some people live. So let us know. Are you concerned with artificial intelligence? Are you concerned with robots? Has nothing to do with recession proofing your business. But I mean, I don't know. Is a robot going to be showing houses one day? Who knows?
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we had to open up the show with a little bit of artificial intelligence fun, but actually it's interesting, right? We'll keep an eye on things for you as the feelings grow in the artificial intelligence world, ladies and gentlemen. So recession proofing your business. So there's a lot of things looming. I know each and every single one of you that are listening, you have to pay high gas prices like we do. Your food costs more money. Your consumer confidence is probably low. And we all know that the Fed just went ahead and met yesterday and today, and we're looking at another tick up in basis points, right? They're talking about 50, and then the talking points went to 75, and now we're possibly looking at 100 on this next go around. to hedge possible inflation. A lot of crazy things are changing in the real estate space. So we've seen double-digit drops in new home construction applications for purchase. We've seen double-digit drops in mortgage applications. So things are happening, right? And the mainstream media is talking about possible forcing into a recession from the Fed. So, which brings us to the marketing roundtable here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's all kind of talk about it. How is your business? And I want you to put this in your mind. How is your business now? How's it been over the last 12 months? And are you thinking about making sure you're in a good position to receive? Are you educating, having conversations with people? Are you really ramping up to recession proof your business model that you have going on right now? So that's something that we wanted to roundtable today. We don't have a very specific agenda, but all three of us have our own ideas on making sure that even in the down market times that we're still in a good position to be a powerful business to help people that are having issues. And so many of our wonderful American citizens are having those issues now. So, Gino, take it away for us here a little bit. I mean, you've been through a couple down markets before. What have you seen some people succeed with and also fail with?
Well, I think my big thing, I operate in a different space than most real estate agents, right? Because marketing is a little different than real estate, as we saw with this last pandemic. So the client base is a little different. The way they spend money is a little bit different. So if I talk about my business in particular, it's sort of apples to oranges. I can't really speak directly to the agent as it pertains to my world, right? Like I've seen enough of it, but I can't actually say that, this is what I would do and here's how it applies to you. I don't think. I mean, there's probably some items we could pull out of my strategy that people could use. I think the one thing for me is there's two things right now: a cash position and diversifying. And so, how about if we just talk about a couple of your side gigs, Sarge? Am I able to speak freely here?
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right. So you're in a space where, you're tied into the real estate space. You have probably your holdings in your investments. You have Freedom Move USA. You have a full service platform for real estate agents to market. You have Roof Max, right? If you spread that out and diversify properly, in most cases, I would say probably not all things are going to suffer. Like in my business, there's something that doesn't really apply to real estate agents, but it's important, is that I learned over the COVID space that I wanted to get myself into closer cahoots with people whose business were a necessity, right? So from a marketing perspective, marketing is like insurance. It's one of the first things you cut when times get tough. Like people don't need it now. I need to pay the rent first. I can't, it's to have marketing and not have a place to have a business is backwards. So people cut that. And what I learned, it was kick me in the teeth, and thank God it did it in a good way. Like I didn't suffer from it. I actually got better because of it. Was that I realized that there are certain businesses that don't stop, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a recession, whatever it is, there's certain businesses. And so for me, I started to think about diversifying my client portfolio in spaces where if something like that were to happen again, I wasn't good. I was nervous when this thing came down. I was like, I'm going to lose 80% of my client base. And I started to have people calling me saying, no, we're not canceling our service. We need to triple down. There's an opportunity here. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Right. So the diversification of income streams along with a cash balance. What I mean by that is, listen, if I would have told you 4 years ago, there's going to be a 2-year period where nobody's going to do nothing, right? You would go, bullshit. Now we're talking about robots and AIs. It could happen again because it already happened. So what I would suggest you do is get yourself in a position where you work your ass off until you have a space where you know that you have enough cash to cover your ass if this were to happen again. That would be one. This is just me, right? People would say, don't do that. You got to invest it. Okay, you can invest it. But if it gets stuck in the middle of that, you're screwed and you lose your house. Don't come crawling back.
So I've talked to a couple EXP agents over the last 2 weeks, actually probably a good handful of them, heavily invested into the EXP stock side of the house. And obviously the market's come down, so they can't borrow against any stock, things like that, for what they typically are doing for some of their marketing initiatives. So You're absolutely right. So if you invest, then you're riding the marketplace, and that's an interesting situation right now.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, that you got to keep your eyes open, right? And I'm constantly, one thing I love about this space and this world and what I do is, no matter how good I think I get and how intelligent I think I am, something always makes me go, I never really thought about that. And I had a conversation with one of my good friends who actually is in the credit repair business. Brian, he was in the credit repair business for 16 years, Captain Link Juice. And when we were talking, I was asking him questions strategically about getting credit cards and adding my girls as users, authorized users. Does it make sense? How do I do it? Do I swipe the card? Do I have to actually physically use the card in their name in order for it to hit their credit? Can we use it online? Like all these questions. And while we were talking, he goes, look, you're at a really good position where my debt to income on the cards is super, super low. And I have a lot of available credit. And he's like, don't worry. If we get tight again, they'll squeeze that. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, no, don't you ever notice that like your credit they'll say to you, we've decreased your line like $3,400. And I go, yeah, but I thought that was because I was like 4 days late on a payment or something. And he goes, sometimes, but also what they do is they look at their position and think about how logically this works.
They mitigate risk.
They mitigate risk. So they're looking at me and they go, Gene uses $2,000 on his credit card. He's got a $2,000 balance. He has $98,000. I'm making numbers up. He has $98,000 of available credit. If we go into a tough time, what's people going to do to survive? Is Gene just going to go, never mind, I quit? Or is he going to probably put things on his credit card? So they mitigate that and they go, we don't want Gene having all this available credit. Let's give him 50. Well, guess what? If I was in a position where I was relying on that in times of trouble and they do that to me, right? So like these little things that I learned, just stay in the space. I learn these things every single day. I learn something new. And I'm like, but when you sit and think about it, it makes sense. So just to close that loop, cash positions, if you can pull it off enough to pay your bills for an amount of time that you can go to sleep with, and see if you can start diversifying some streams of income, even if they're small to begin with. Diversify some streams of income. So if they do turn off real estate for a hot minute, you got other things coming in. Maybe your rental comes in, right? Rentals towards the end of that period were going through the roof because real estate was going. People couldn't buy real estate because the prices were so high. So people were renting, landlords were increasing rents, they're making more money. There's a way to do it if you have a lot of different nozzles.
Yeah. Nick, quick question for you. We talk about relationship equity all the time, right? And we've had different agents that talk about their book of business because of all of the relationships that they're having. And we urge people to go out and have conversations with new people, right? So in down markets, everybody's hurting. Everybody's looking at, what do I do? How can I use my equity in my home to offset any of my cost of living, or should I sell? And we're also dynamic as humans, but do you think it'd be good advice to go ahead and put into your recession proofing a goal to go ahead and create new relationships with new people, so if times do get tight, that you're the go-to person?
I think we've talked about that a lot. A lot of the best agents just have a lot of good relationships, right? They have a lot of friends, and they keep contact with their friends and their database. I want to give a plug here real quick to reunation.com, right? So we're talking about this right now, and we cover every Tuesday and Thursday, we're covering the news nationwide on what's going on in real estate. And so if you like the Marketing Roundtable, I want you to go to reunation.com. Check out Real Estate American News is a show that me and Jake are doing twice a week. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because in this market right now, you have to be an expert. You have to be perceived as the expert, and you also have to be on top of what's going on in the consumer mindset. So the conversations that people are having at the dinner table of what's going on, I can't believe the eggs just went up this much. I can't believe this went up this much. And if they are thinking about selling, we went into this frenzy market where everybody had equity, and there was a FOMO of like, oh my God, I'm missing out on real estate and I need to jump in the market. And that's partially between the pandemic and people moving out of state, all this relocation. But it got into this overhyped market of like, oh my God, I'm missing out. Right. And so the agents who are listening to this, who have been bragging for the past year that they've sold every property for $20,000 over asking, and they're the greatest agents since agents have been born, right? Now's the time to really buckle up and put on your salesman hat, put on your diversification hat, because the market is what made you guys great. And there's a lot of great agents out there, but 90% of the agent success in this time has been the market and not the agents and what they're doing specifically with their virtual tours and all this other stuff. And I'm sorry if I piss off a lot of people, but that's just what's going on right now. Okay. Your relationships matter. The reason why I plugged REU Nation is because you need to hear from us how we're covering the news. And so you can know what conversations to have with the people when you're calling your database, when you're making your 50 phone calls a day, when you're going out to coffee with people. And you don't have a crystal ball. Nobody has a crystal ball. But the general consensus right now is prices are still going to rise because of lack of inventory. Interest rates are also rising at the same time. So my question to you is, what is your script? What do you say to people when you talk to them and say, I don't know what to do. Is now a good time to buy? Right. And it's not just the canned real estate 101 answer of it's always a good time to buy. Right. You need to have some oomph behind it. Let them know that you're a market expert, that you know what's going on, that you know inventory levels, but having those conversations, because what's going on right now is you talk to 10 agents, 3 of them are crushing it, and 7 of them are picking their nose and not knowing what they're going to do. Right. The divide of 80-20 is getting even bigger. And there's a handful of agents in every market that are absolutely crushing it. And then a lot of other agents that are hurting because they're not having enough conversations. They're not having enough at bats on social media. They're not talking to enough people. They don't have unique selling proposition. And also, too, not to get too much into the woo-woo, but in this market, your perception of your life, your perception of your business is going to drive a lot of your business. And what I mean by that is you need to be around people who are making money, who are doing things, and not get sucked into negativity, hanging around with other agents that aren't doing shit and dragging you down that aren't doing shit either. You need to be with networking with people, listening to shows like ours. There's a lot of success that you can have, but a lot of it's just in your head. It's your perception of life. It's your perception of your business. So I urge you guys to think about what's going on between your ears. I made a joke about that Google artificial intelligence on Facebook. I said, everybody's worried about artificial intelligence taking over, but they're not worried about the negative comments that they're telling themselves in their own brain. Right. So there's a lot of mental game going on here in these types of times where things get tough. And it's a lot of it, 90% of it's just mental. How are you approaching these situations? How are you thinking about a down market? Because people are going to make money. You're going to run into agents that are going to double, triple their business when times are tough.
Sure.
What are you going to do?
And they get communicating. Right. So for all the folks that are listening right now, and I see all of you, quick question. Are you communicating the things that are happening, the changes in the mortgage side of the house, or communicating to people possibly even in your farm on maybe now is the top end of the market. Now might be a good time to sell. Obviously, a home priced at certain levels are starting to get out of reach for buyers. You know, there's a lot of talking points that's happening in the mainstream news and what we report on Real Estate America News that could be really good content that goes out and drives conversations to homeowners. So, Gino, being a good ambassador, being a communicator to the marketplace is important, right? And I know you've said it many times. We were coming right through the COVID situation, right? The pandemic. And we saw people that doubled down on their communication, relationships, and advertising just totally win. And other folks, unfortunately, got passed up, right? Oh, you're on mute, bud.
I was over here breathing heavy. I don't want you to hear it. I just watch people, and people operate differently. You know, when you look around you, there's people in your life where you look and you go, I don't know how that dude puts his shoes on in the morning. And there's other guys where you're like, if I ever had a business question, I would call him because he's got his shit together. He's running X, Y, and Z. I know he makes a ton of money. He's got the leadership that I like, right? So when you look around at that stuff, for me, it was like, align yourself with the people where you're saying, this is a guy, you know, it's go back to your old top 10 people. You know, you're hanging with 10 people. You're probably the average of them. How do you get to the point where you're just hanging solely with the top 5 above you? And for whatever reason, maybe it's not money. But for me, it's business and money and speaking engagements. For some people, it's God, religion, family. I mean, obviously my family, right? But I want to roll with good people that are good people in general. But I also want to roll with people that have the ability to take a situation like we were in and make the light of it and have the balls. My buddy Pat runs a commercial glass company, and he's one of the first ones that called me, and we're like best friends. And I was like, shit, he's going to cancel the service. And he was like, I'm not canceling nothing, dude. I'll pay you more. We need to triple down on this stuff because our service work is going through the roof. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. So Pat's like one of those guys that like not only understands the climate of where things are going, he sees it, he prepares for it, but he also has the cojones to say, this is what we need to do. I could lose stuff here, right? Because if I make the wrong decision, I'm putting 40, 60, 80, 100 grand out for marketing. If nothing returns, I'm screwed. But I got to do it. I see the opportunity here. I got to do it. And, Nick, we talked about this before, like in all of these markets, when I always say this, especially when I do speaking engagements, when you see these large companies like Pepsi's hit a point where probably everybody knows who Pepsi is. So every year at the Super Bowl, do they spend less money or more? They spend more money because they know that when they spend $1, they get 8 back. So if you spend $1 million, won't you get 8 million? Or maybe it's more than that, right? Like they do their numbers. So you got to watch these top dogs, and when they're going, Warren Buffett, when people get scared, I buy. When people are buying, I'm scared, right? And that's kind of what's going on in this space. It's like in the marketing space, when you look at everybody pulling that shit back, it's creating opportunity for you to get more of the landscape. Like have a cash position. Maybe that cash position, your income is sustaining your mortgage and your wife's clothes habit, but now you got a cash position to put more money into marketing where there's an opportunity. So I like, you got to have a little bit of a set of balls too. And I don't mean that, I'm not knocking the women out here. I just mean figuratively, you have to have some balls to be able to do stuff like that. And a lot of times it pays off if you do it right.
Piggyback.
Yeah.
Piggyback. I got to piggyback. So there's a question here from Noel, California. Hardest part of adjusting to markets is for people wanting to wait for it to go lower, right? And so to piggyback on what Gene was saying, this is a perfect opportunity to talk about the at-bat scenario, okay? Stop trying to convince people, right, that it's time to buy or sell. Yes, you are a real estate salesperson. We should almost change that, right? So you're a real estate salesperson. You should be versed in sales. You should know how to sell people, talk to people, figure out what their wants and needs are, and help them. But at the same time, if you are working with 2 people that you desperately need for them to buy or sell a house, and they're saying that they're going to wait, you need to move on. You need more at-bats. You need more customers. You need to have more conversations. And I know that's easy to say and hard to do, but if you're circling the drain with people who are saying, we're going to wait, keep in communication with them, but you are not going to convince somebody that fact, right? Just like in marketing, if somebody comes to me, I'm not trying to convince somebody that video marketing is good. I know that video marketing is what every business needs. If they don't understand that video marketing is what you need in your business in 2022, I'm not going to spend an hour with you on the phone trying to convince you of that fact. I'm going to say, thank you very much. Let's keep in touch. When you're ready, here I am. Same thing for real estate. Same thing for whatever business you're in. Don't waste your time with people who aren't ready. Okay. Keep them in incubation. Keep them on the back burner. But this is where your pipeline, this is where your activity, this is where having more at-bats really matters, because you won't feel that stress as hard as you feel it because you only have one person that says they want to wait. It's because you don't have 10 other people lined up behind them, right? That's the real issue. It's not the one person, because nobody has a crystal ball. But again, that's back to knowing the market, knowing what's going on, really educating people. But like, I've sold houses to people. Okay. So I could go out and say, I'm the best real estate salesperson because I've taken a couple from online lead, meeting them the first time, buyer brokerage agreement, seeing one house, and they bought that house. That's like the dream for a buyer's agent, right? That funnel. I've done that in my life multiple times. I could sit here and say I'm the best buyer's agent, but what really happened? The first house they saw, they fell in love with. And I happen to be the guy that was there to open the door and give them confidence that I can take them through the transaction. Simple enough. Just like the listing agents that are selling houses for $20,000 over. You're not a fucking surgeon, miracle worker. You're great at your job, but the market is doing what the market is doing right now, right? So just know right now, The only issue that you have as a real estate agent is not having enough at bats. Period. End of story. It's not that you don't have the transaction coordination. It's not that you don't have contract negotiation ability. It's the fact that you're not talking to enough people and you don't have a big enough pipeline. That cures all. Sales cures all. Pipeline cures all. So don't get caught up in the minutia. Figure out right now in this changing market what the average consumer is thinking about, how you can craft your message as the expert in your market, and get those people to become attracted to you. Like, simple enough. Seems simple, but you got to have more conversations.
So in a recessionary type market, when now, and I venture to say that most of us alive haven't felt some of these pressures, right? I don't remember last time I paid for fuel and gas where it's at right now, and food where it's at right now. I know everybody's reevaluating their purchasing decisions at the stores. So we heard a statistic here where pre-pandemic, what was it? There was roughly 30% of Americans had a decent savings. I don't know what that is, but now all of a sudden their actual savings percentage is down to 4%. Was a statistic that we went ahead and heard here recently. People are digging into their savings, they're digging into their credit, still trying to go ahead and live the lifestyle that not too long ago we all had and felt comfortable with. I think a lot of times people really don't know. You're still buying that same gallon of milk. You're still buying the eggs that you prefer. You're still buying the guacamoles, right? Or the bottle of wine. We're using, right? So now we're starting to feel it, and especially at the gas pumps, people that are on a fixed type income where they don't have the ability to increase the hours that they work or increase their wages because they're working for somebody else. They're really feeling it as it pertains into this place. Now, I think homeowners that are possibly selling and buyers that are selling are looking for ways to go ahead and help their savings financially and their convenience, right? Nick, talk to us about some of those plays, right? If you're armed with something that can absolutely help the homeowners with savings, it's going to go a long way right now in the marketplace.
Yeah, that goes back to, our unique selling proposition. We have Freedom Move USA. Honestly, if you've been listening to the show and you don't know what that is, you need to go check it out, freedommoveusa.com. The value proposition that was created there was to help you in a down market, right? Helping people move. Moving is a big expense. That's what we've done. There's a lot of different elements to that. That's just one of them. But besides that pitch, like, we're not very pitchy on the show, but we do create products and services for people that really help their business, right? One thing I want to kind of go back on, and I hope I'm not being too harsh today. I don't know, I'm kind of in a funky mood, so I feel like I'm kind of yelling at you guys, but don't take it the wrong way.
Everybody that's watching this is pretty snappy. I mean, look at Noel. He just went ahead and said the Fed just did it.
Yeah. So here's one thing, right? So from this is going back to what Gene said earlier, kind of ringing in my head right now about diversification. So we have a one-track mind in real estate, right? You get in real estate because typically we want to be our own boss. We want to make all this money. We've seen all these podcasts of these multi-million dollar agents. That's what we want to do. So we get into the business with this idea that we're going to take over the world. We quickly realize how hard it is to sell houses on a consistent basis. Now we're going into a down market. Now you're worried about, you're jeopardizing your own personal thought process as an individual. What am I going to do? So thinking about diversifying in real estate, there's a lot of different avenues that you can be in. Yes, you might have gotten into real estate as to being a single agent. If we were to look at the market right now of what's happening in the real estate as a whole, as a community, big teams and expansion teams and brokers are taking big market shares in markets because they've figured out the system, right? So number one, if you're an agent and you are only selling, say, one house a month, let's open your mind to the possibility of, why not find a team or a brokerage or an expansion team that's in your market that's absolutely crushing it, and maybe you can be one of their lead listing agents. Maybe you can be one of their lead buyers agents. Maybe you can build your business within their team. That is a distinct possibility in a downtime. So don't discount that, okay? Number one, you might not be a great number one in a company, but you could be a tremendous number two. are number 3 or number 4 and still make 6 figures plus, right? So have that in the back of your mind. That's not quitting. That's not giving up. That's being smart and doing a transition. The second thing, how many different streams of revenue can you have from real estate? Like Gene said, there's rental properties. What if you were a property manager for Airbnbs? What if all of a sudden you became a property manager and you started managing people's Airbnbs and you had 10, 20, 30, 40 properties you were managing and taking a cut of that and still selling property as a residential real estate agent? But that's one little thing that you can add on your license, right? There's teams and brokers right now that are doing ancillary services like dumpster rental, right? What if you bought a $5,000 dumpster and you started doing dumpster rentals for people who are clearing out their house? Guess what? People that are clearing out their house, what are they doing? They're typically selling their house or doing some sort of real estate activity. This is what we looked at with like the Freedom Move USA. How does moving affect real estate? This is another reason why Sarge is in Roof Max so heavy. Saving money on people's roofs. What happens? This just happened last week. He got a listing for his buddy in Orlando off of a Roof Max sale. He's going out there to spray the roof to save the consumer $10,000 on the cost of replacing the roof. And why was the guy spraying his roof? Because his buddy, who was an insurance agent, said you better get your roof sprayed or roof replaced before you sell your property. Right? So it's thinking outside the box. There's all different venues or avenues with real estate, but don't be afraid. Again, if you're selling one house a month and you're super scared, or less than one house a month, don't be scared to go talk to a big team that's crushing it in your market, or maybe a big single individual that might need some help that's crushing it that you can partner with. There's a lot of money to be made. It doesn't have to be just you and your personal brand.
So I think regardless, even in an up market, if you have the ability to structure your business model to go ahead and help people with financial savings and personal convenience, you're already in a winning bucket, because those are two of the biggest power movers on why consumers make purchasing decisions. It really is. It's especially coming into a down market type situation when money's tight for families, and if folks are on fixed incomes, they have to do something. They have to make a sale of their home so that they can take the money and adjust personally, right? So, but if you're there with programs to pique their interest, help them with saving money. These gentlemen are talking about Roof Max. If you guys don't know what that is, it's spelled Roof Max with 2 X's. It's a revolutionary new product that's hitting the market, and you have the ability to rejuvenate your roof completely and extend the life. They give a 5-year warranty instead of having to replace it. So it's only 10-15% of the cost. Nobody's ever ready to go ahead and replace their roof ever. And Kevin Harrington from the Shark Tank's involved with the whole program. And I purchased multiple dealerships, and we're helping families all throughout the Central Florida region. Instead of this big expense, they should go ahead and call us first, right? So what's happening in that industry is pretty interesting. Why do people want to go ahead and pay some attention to their roofs? They want to do it because they're possibly thinking about selling, or they don't want to have to replace it, or their insurance got dropped for some reason, or their rates doubled on their home policy. So it's pretty interesting. However, that product itself, it's awesome, and it's helping homeowners save a lot of money. So when you hit a financial button like that of financial convenience, it goes a long way, especially in down markets. So adjust yourself to go ahead and put those offerings out. And I do urge everybody to come over to Freedom Move USA, because now you've got something that you can go ahead and give that moves the needle from a financial benefit for your consumer when your competition is not doing it. So
value. How are you providing value? Right.
It seems like it's getting redundant. You've been asking that question for the last 6 weeks, maybe 3 months.
Well,
I'm not saying that as a knock. This is becoming a theme.
Yeah, it is. It is. So here, great point. The people that got killed in last recession didn't adapt. Tony Brewster, or Bravistar, looks like he's selling insurance right now, and I was thinking about or contemplating getting into the real estate marketplace. What say you, Gene?
That's easy. Why would you stop doing anything? Have that as I'll listen. If you called me and said, I'm looking to buy a watch, I'm not a watch salesman, but I can help you. Right. And I probably could make a connection with a local jeweler to get a rip off of it if I wanted to. You already have the licensing, probably in insurance. Keep it. And also, these things go well together, right? Like for me, marketing and running a restaurant don't necessarily. Paul A would probably disagree with me, but they don't necessarily in my head go together, right? They're kind of like disparate, right? So they're like separate. With life insurance, and real estate. I mean, if I'm in a real estate game, I always say the real estate folks and the mortgage folks are the ones that they know your whole livelihood. They know that you went bankrupt. They're aware of all your transgressions and how much credit card you're debt in. They know that you have $60,000 of crypto that's now worth 30. They know what your 401k sits
10.
at. Like they know. Oh, by the way, they also know. What did you say?
You said 30. I said it's worth 10.
Oh, 10.
Yeah.
This is a sore tooth subject for Nick.
And that's a good point. It's a good point because here's what I'm saying to you. These folks are intimate with your finances, whether they're good or bad, right? Like you're not screaming to your friends from the rooftops today. Just filed Chapter 7, guys. Just wanted everybody to know. Most people hide that stuff, right? Your real estate agent and folks that are handling some of where you need a credit report and tax returns know that. So to be able to make a strong financial decision when it comes to buying life insurance, don't you think it's important for somebody to know the real estate side of it? What do you have in assets? Where can you afford? How do these things work? Like these things all work together in the money space, right? To get you to a position of wealth, you need to be solid in mutual funds, stocks, bonds, crypto, life insurance that you can borrow against, whole term, stuff that's covering your wife. I mean, you name it, dude. There's stuff there. So I wouldn't stop doing anything, Tony. I would add, if you're thinking about it, add the real estate game to your repertoire. And then that to me is what I was talking about before, which is increase your diversity. You know, maybe real estate's down, but life insurance is up because COVID hits and people are worried about what their families are going to do, right? So now you're selling insurance while the real estate game's closed. Flip that script. Nobody cares about real estate, life insurance because they're making great money. And guess what they're doing now? They're buying real estate because they got cash at hand. So those things go together, I think. And I wouldn't stop doing anything. I would just pivot where I need to pivot.
Multiple streams of income are important to think about regardless towards your wealth portfolio. So
yeah, I like the peanut butter and jelly aspect of that.
Right.
You're a salesperson, you're selling something, you have a book of business. Those people that are in that book of business could use this other product. That makes sense. I will say, I don't like the last word in that sentence, which is instead with the question mark, right? Instead of life insurance, get into real estate, because that to me, and like Gene said, but that specific thing to me says, well, I'm selling life insurance and it's hard. And I've heard this other thing might be a little bit easier and the grass is always greener, right? So that, and I know this all too well. The reason I can speak to this is because if you constantly go through your life is when you hit a wall, like you're doing something and you hit a wall and then you look for an excuse to pivot, you're never going to break through a wall. All you're going to do is go to another thing and then hit a wall on that thing and then go to another thing, right? So like if your thought process in your mind right now is, should I sell homes instead of insurance because insurance is hard or I'm not doing very good in insurance, maybe figure out why insurance is hard and why you're not doing good there before you try to just pivot to say that I think this thing might be easier, because that's not a good solution.
I agree completely. David went ahead and mentioned something here. I want to get your guys' thoughts here. We're lacking quality homes, not homes. There are a lot of homes that were priced way too high, even in a good market. How much of that is affecting the situation at hand right now? What say you, Gino? I
would say that's probably geographically specific. Like, you know, I don't know. I would say, I think it depends on the market, right? I mean, I would imagine the quality homes not being available hurts the home market. And I think that there was a time there, it seems to me in my space to be slowing down, where people were overpaying by a lot, no matter what the product was, right? They just needed to get into a space. They had to be the first one there. They were doing what they could to get it, all that good stuff. So I don't know. I don't personally see or hear in my area that we're lacking in quality homes, but I'm certainly not saying that's not what's happening in David's space.
David, if you're still on, where are you at? Where are you located? We're curious because we've been looking at some micro markets and really kind of watching unemployment rates, mortgage rates, trends on people moving to and from your area, things along those lines. I'm curious. We could go ahead and
But
break
also
down for you.
on that point too, like say it's a 60 to 90 day lag. Say the houses that are on the market right now, the people that made the decision to sell those houses, that happened 90 days ago. What was happening 90 days ago when they made their decision? They heard from everybody around them that they were getting multiple bids, 20, 30, 50, $100,000 over. And that's what's in their mind right now still. That's not the market that we're in, right? So there is this pain period that we're going to go through for the next probably 6 months as the market adjusts with this new inflationary rates for mortgages, where the sellers that are in this right now are still thinking about 90 days ago. They're still relating to news articles from 90 days ago. And you as a listing agent are going to be the bearer of bad news for a little while with price reductions, and having the come to Jesus meeting that the market is kind of softening, and it's going to be your fault for a little while. So just know that, right? From the other side of the coin, Gene talks about this and probably doesn't talk about it enough. His affiliation with Annie Mac Mortgage and all the different programs that they have, like having a position as a buyer's agent to be able to go into an offer with something like full cash, and or start educating buyers more and more now. Maybe we're going to pivot into, hey, buyers have been pretty spoiled lately. You know, they've been paying a premium for houses, but they've also been expecting those houses to be HGTV ready, right? When we were, this first recession that happened 2007, 2008, I shouldn't say first, but like the last major recession, these houses that when prices came down, all of a sudden, foreclosures and fix and flip and all these things that were out there that people didn't necessarily know about. Maybe now as part of your conversations with people is like, hey, if prices do start to decline a little bit and these sellers are unreasonable, we have FHA 203K loans. We can do a new kitchen after the fact. We can do a new bathroom after the fact. We don't necessarily have to have this perfect model home as a resale be the only thing that you guys are looking at, because inventory is still very low. So you might have to, make that, not so nice house in the neighborhood look at like a diamond. So there's different things. Again, it's part of adjustments, part of conversations, but there is this pain of the next 6 months of the market's not catching up to reality, and you're going to be that person.
I don't want to shock anybody when I say this, but we watch the back channels very heavily in the mainstream news, right? And I know a lot of you guys are very busy. There's a lot of folks that are big economists. I would say back channel economists too, kind of talking previous political administrations, advisors, things like that. If you take all of these different opinions and you try to go ahead and bottle them together and get an average of average, kind of a where is this going, with a margin of indifference. There's some folks that are saying in 6 to 24 months from now, we're going to be seeing some pretty heavy storms out in the ocean. Let's just say that. So I would say now is the best time to get focused on making sure that your core business is solid, foundational, having relationships with more people. That's going to cast a wider net. Don't just pass up somebody with a short conversation. Take a little bit extra time to say hello, engage with some folks in passing at the grocery store, on the phones. Dedicate yourself to a little bit extra time. So if you have to focus your daily events, don't get speedy and pacey and everything else. Make sure you're having quality relationships. That's going to go a long way. Identify and find value propositions that you can put into your service that adds value to your prospective consumer, and then make sure all of those folks know about it. That's going to go a long way. Some of the old school tricks too, guys, right? And this is part of doing your business push-ups. Grab your phone, make some phone calls to people, have some conversations with folks that you've already came in contact with before in the past. Ask them how they're doing, how they're feeling, what's going on. And if you have some type of value proposition in your business that you offer as far as your core competency, make sure all of your friends and family know what you have available to help them out. They're having conversations with their friends and family as well. Everybody's talking about it. We can't sit down at the dinner table anymore and talk about how juicy and beautiful the steak is prepared. I venture to say that you're having the conversations about how much it costs even inside of your own home. So your friends and family are doing the same. But tune things in a little bit. And it'll go a long way regardless in business, no matter what market we're in, up or down. So just kind of focus your attention and make sure you do your business push-ups. And that's really what I want to urge everybody to do here. And chin up and chest out. We've been through the worst before. And I venture to say that us as a country can go ahead and do it again. So, but let's go ahead and get things wrapped up here. Gino, any final takeaways?
Yeah, I think I want to say, you know, I'm just a Philly kid, right? That my parents didn't have money growing up. My father was a Philly firefighter. We all went to Catholic school, all 6 of us. Somehow they afforded 6 kids to go through Catholic school for 12 years on a super small salary. I mean, firefighters didn't make much in 1992, right? And my mom stayed at home for the most part, outside of working some side jobs. I've fallen on my face a million times, cracked plenty of teeth, been in a lot of fights with bottles cracked on my head, had guns drawn on me. I've been at the top, and I lost my father when I was 18. I've been at the bottom, and I've somehow like a phoenix from the ashes, I'm still here, and I'm still enjoying what's going on. I'm getting stronger and better as I go. But I want to caveat this by saying, if you are turning to me for your financial advice, please beware, right? Like, I'm just telling you how I feel. This is only my opinion. If you ask me, I got no credentials whatsoever. I could tell you what not to do better than what I could tell you what to do, right? But I will tell you that our goal here is always to have you think and get you into a position where, if we get into the worst of times, you have yourself set up so that maybe it's not the best time in your life, but you don't go homeless and your kids stay in their schools and they're able to eat, right? So if we said anything to you today that makes sense and you want to talk about it further, I'm certainly happy to share my opinions. My wife will tell you, I got 6 million of them, and they are like assholes. They all stink. And so, but I'll share them with you, and I'd be happy to strategize with you too if you want. But I just want to put out there, like, I'm not a financial advisor, right? I'm just some dude mucking through, figuring out how to stay ahead. I enjoy what I do, trying to make as much money as I can, because money makes the world go around, and the people around me are happier when I have it. So, yeah, that's it. That's what I'm saying.
Nick, what say you?
I'm gonna go back to perception. Gene's got a great perception, right? He's grateful for what he has. He's been up, he's been down, but he's keeping moving forward. I think everybody in our space right now, if you find yourself overwhelmed on a daily basis because you see people achieving things that you don't have, right? If you feel like everybody around you is succeeding and you're not, there is some self-reflection that needs to be made. What are your daily activities? What are you doing in order to achieve your goals? But at the same time, your perception is all that matters. And so I want you to not beat yourself up, manage the negative thoughts in your head, know that social media is not real. Okay. Everybody's hurting right now in some form or fashion. Even the people that are crushing it, you know, if you're on social media and you're thinking that people are just absolutely crushing it and you're the only one who's not the case. Okay. So just be grateful and thankful for everything that you have, and be willing to adapt. Life is daily, right? When I went through my weight loss journey, all I focused on was every single day. I'm going to control my activities that happen on a daily basis and not worry about what's going to happen in 6 months, 12 months to a year, because I know I'm doing the right things on a daily basis. And that's the only thing you can control. So if you focus on what you can control, you will win. If you're constantly in paralysis of things around you and reading news articles and getting into fear and talking to people who aren't doing shit, guess what? You're going to be in fear and you're not going to do shit. So focus on things you can control, adapt, and you'll be just fine.
Outstanding. You know, it's funny. It seems like things change every single week now these days. So we have to adapt that fast.
Yeah.
It's not the slow news cycle like a lot of us have experienced over a decade or two. It's like, whoa, things are moving. Things are moving. So good deal. Ladies and gentlemen, this was us for you today. If you liked what you saw, please do us a huge favor. Smash the like button. Wait, did I say that right, Nick?
No.
I always tease everybody. All right.
Tickle it a little bit.
Hit the thumb thing and smash the bell without breaking your electronic device.
Or hit dislike and tell us we're idiots. We'll take that too. Let us know.
Yeah. If you like what we're doing, please give us a little bit of support. We love sharing our non-infinite life and bringing these things. We're passionate about helping each and every single one of you succeed. And if you could take a little bit away from something that we said and improve your life or help somebody else be blessed and unstoppable, that's why we're here. So we'd ask that you share us the love. Go check out reunation.com. A lot of awesome things happening over there. Tune in to some of the other folks that are going to be on the show. There's a lot of amazing people that Mr. McDaniel is putting together to go ahead and help you be awesome in everything that you do. So we'll see you guys at the Marketing Roundtable next Wednesday at the same time. And until then, be blessed and unstoppable. Thank you, gentlemen.